Yeah, lovely. That worked. All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Xander Elliott. I'm the content editor at The National, and I'm joined by Steph Brawn, who's one of our political reporters. Hey, Steph.
Hi, Xander.
Yeah. I think you and Holly.
I will admit I'm a little bit slow today, having just got back off holiday, but I've been back in at the deep end speaking to Douglas Ross. So there we go.
Yeah, we'll catch up on that in a second. And Hamish Morrison down in London has been paying a bit more attention to the manifesto launch today, I think, haven't you?
Yeah. So the Tories launched their manifesto today at the home of the British Grand Prix in Silverstone.
Thrilling. It sounds thrilling.
Yeah.
Well, so as Steph mentioned, she's freshly back from holiday and she was off to meet Douglas Ross, who is fighting some of his own fires. Can you tell us what happened today, Steph?
Yeah, so Douglas Ross was down at the King's Theatre in Edinburgh, a place that's under a lot of construction work at the moment. It's benefiting from the UK government's Levelling Up programme, which Douglas Ross in the build-up to this described as a game-changing success story. But with astonishing delays that MPs found a few months ago with the programme, and the fact that we know a lot of money has gone to areas with Scottish Tory MPs more so than other areas, I'll leave that up to everybody else to decide. But the focus really from journalists really was on the drama of the past few days. We've obviously had a lot of events with Douglas Ross. He first of all put himself forward as a candidate at the last minute in place of David Duguid, which didn't go down very well. David Duguid has been recovering from a serious operation and was making a good recovery, he says, and was willing to stand Douglas Ross, but they basically was determined that he was in too ill health to stand, and Douglas Ross has come into his place at the last minute. Then, shortly after, there was a piece in the Sunday Mail, I think it was, and about some expenses that Douglas Ross had claimed. I think it was 28 travel expenses that he'd claimed that his advisors were concerned about were actually linked to his job as a football referee rather than his duties at Parliament. So there's that comes into things. And then shortly after that, he steps down. He says he's stepping down as leader of the Scottish Conservatives after the general election and will step back as an MSP if he gets a seat in the House of Commons. So just to run through all of that context, obviously, there were a lot of questions over all of it today. The things that kind of stood out were he was asked about some of these individual expenses that he's claimed, some of these 28 expenses that have flagged up concern. And he was asked if he would step back from the election contest if he is found guilty of breaking MP rules with these expenses, to which he repeatedly dodged the question, basically. He seems to consistently claim that these expenses are linked to his duties as an MP, even ones that seem a little bit suspicious. For example, a parking fee that he claimed for when he was refereeing, the day he was refereeing a Celtic game. So things like this have flagged up a lot of concern, but he consistently claimed that these legitimate expenses claims, and he basically said that if IPSA, the independent body that have said that they are reviewing this, want to launch an investigation, then he's not scared, doesn't seem to be scared of that, and is willing to have a conversation with them. So all the questions were kind of around that, but it's safe to say that he seems to have really made a mess of this and has undermined his own campaign now that he's got one. And I think he's sort of, for a lot of people's eyes, shown himself to be a man who's in it for himself. He's kind of hedged his bets, ensured that he's going to have a job no matter what happens. And I think that's just the way people are seeing it.
I quite enjoy Douglas Ross's sort of approach to the IPSA investigation as well, because the reality is that after the general election, he'll be a backbench Tory MP, one of, maybe just slightly over 100, depends on how well they do. So an IPSA investigation into his expenses is probably not going to be that big deal for him. If they ask him to pay it back, then he'll just, it's not as if the Tories are going to exact any great sanction out of him either. Given that he'll be one of very few of their number on the backbenches.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how many they actually do win. And it'll be interesting to see if they do manage to hold this seat now in Aberdeenshire North and Murray East, because I think it was widely expected to be a Conservative hold when it was David Duguid that was running. But now there really is a spanner in the works in the form of Douglas Ross. Because as you say, Steph, it's like people don't want an MP that stands up for themselves. People don't want an MP that's only focused on, well, to paraphrase JFK, I think, like what my country can do for me. It's all about what you can do for your country. And Dross is really, Dross, I'm reading that comment there. Douglas Ross has really shown that he is in this for himself, and he's not in it for his constituents. He's not in it for his colleague, like David Duguid. Duguid has a right to be betrayed here. So yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see how that pans out. Do you think, Hamish, that there is anything in the Conservative manifesto that could help Douglas Ross to hold on to this seat in Aberdeenshire North and Murray East?
I think if you're looking at it from, I mean, this the whole thing, the whole campaign really has been about shoring up the sections of society that the Tories can reliably have vote for them. So there's three big sort of planks of it, if you like. There's the pensions aspect of it, where they've said that pensioners will never pay income tax on their pensions. You've got tax pledges. I mean, the tax cuts were going into sort of about £17 billion a year by the end of the next Parliament. So over the next 5 years, something slightly over £80 billion pledged over 5 years. I mean, it's absolutely astronomical numbers. That they want to bring down national insurance with the overall ambition of getting rid of it altogether. And they also, the third plank of it is on immigration, and so they've got this sort of flagship pledge to have immigration and then have it reduced year on year as well. So it's really all about whether or not that will, one, claw back votes from Reform and Nigel Farage's sort of, meteoric rise up the polls. And there was a poll out, I think it was last week, that put them on a level pegging with the Tories. They're unlikely to really get any, many seats, if any. Farage might win in Essex, but it seems unlikely that they'll make much of an impact because of the first past the post system. But I mean, so that's what they're up against on the one hand, and then they're also really up against the fact that a lot of Conservative voters aren't going to go and vote for the Labour Party. I mean, a lot of them are, but a lot of the diehards, true Tory blues, aren't going to, but are just going to stay home because they think you've had your chance, you've had 14 years, and on the tax thing, people that are ideologically against taxation aren't going to look at a party that has put up taxes to record levels and trust them with cutting taxes. Just no way that they're going to. There's just no way that's believable for some people. Is it going to win insurance? Is it going to win over voters in Aberdeenshire North? I mean, I think Douglas Ross certainly hopes that it will. But
I think the national insurance contribution pledge, like the pledge to scrap it altogether, it doesn't seem thought through. I mean, I guess this is a thread that's been running through all of the Conservative policies that we've really seen this general election, from the God, what was it they were pledging the other week? Conscription, all the way through to this. It's like, if you're going to scrap national insurance contributions for people that are self-employed, how do you then pay a state pension to these people? Like, you can go on the UK government website now, because I've missed a couple of years when I was living abroad. I've missed a couple of years of my national insurance contributions. So I have the option to go back and top them up in order to further qualify for my state pension when it rolls around. But if you, as a self-employed person, which I was at that time, don't have to pay national insurance contributions, then where does that put someone like me?
Yeah.
None of it makes any sense at all.
I mean, so pensions are paid out of current government spending. There's not like a pot that you pay into, and it goes back to, that's held there for you as you retire. But yeah, there is aspects of this, and there's the fact that the national service programme would be funded through some of the levelling up funding. They do say that all the tax cuts that they've penciled in are fully funded, but there does look to be some kind of holes in some of the maths there.
Doesn't make any sense.
It's not really a manifesto of we are going to implement this. It's not a manifesto that has been written by people that expect that they have a reasonable chance of implementing it come the 5th of July. It's a manifesto that says, please, if you are a Conservative voter, please don't vote for reform. Please don't stay at home. Please come out and vote for us. It's not a manifesto that says this is what the next government of the United Kingdom is going to be doing, because it's not that, and they know it's not that.
Yeah, I mean, it would just abolishing national insurance alone would just be a mammoth task that I just don't think they'd even manage to do it in the first 5 years of a parliamentary term. I mean, they haven't been able to do anything really in the last year. They've been trying to get Rwanda flights off the ground since 2022 or something. Even before that, it's like they really think they're going to scrap national insurance. It's pie in the sky thinking. It's absolutely. There
was another sort of fun inconsistency today as well, where the Tories have had a sort of ongoing war over the past couple of years with the civil service. They hate civil servants because they're part of the woke blob, but then they also want to extend the civil service outside of London. And so you had Ben Houchin on stage talking about how it was great that loads of Teesside projects had created these new civil service jobs, and then literally within minutes, he's the mayor of the of that area in England, and then within minutes, you had Rishi Sunak back on stage saying, "Oh, we're gonna scrap so many civil service jobs, it's going to pay for all these tax cuts."
It seems like they're taking a stand.
Add up.
It's not a real pledge, but they seem very much to be going towards just American levels of taxation, American levels of public service, by just stripping everything to the bone, like absolutely no welfare, no civil service at all. I mean, if they want to talk about cutting civil service jobs, maybe they should get in touch with the Scottish Greens. I saw that today they were saying they want to abolish the Home Office, so that could well.
This is an unlikely crossover. Yeah, save yourself a few pennies doing that.
Yeah, but yeah, away from the manifesto launch, then the Tories manifesto launch. What else have we been seeing today in politics land?
So yeah, Keir Starmer got himself into a bit of trouble today as well with his slightly random attack on Jeremy Corbyn over the Tory manifesto. He'd said that the Tory manifesto was a Jeremy Corbyn style document, which is the leader of the Labour Party that Keir Starmer worked for many years in his shadow cabinet. It's just a kind of extraordinary ability to say. And I think the Tories have been correct to criticise Keir Starmer on this. It's far from only the left wing of politics that have criticised Keir Starmer from this. It's come from all over the political spectrum. It's how can you have campaigned on the one hand to have put Jeremy Corbyn in number 10, and then on the other hand say that you completely reject everything associated with him. You don't need to like Jeremy Corbyn or whatever. To recognise the inconsistency in that.
Yeah, looking back at some of the comments that Starmer made, because obviously Jeremy Corbyn resigned pretty sharpish after the 2019 general election result. So when Starmer was running to replace him as Labour leader, that manifesto was very much what he'd been elected on a matter of weeks before, and he was very, very strongly in favour of it, speaking.
He said it would be the foundational. He said it would be the foundational document. And there was a big clip that's been doing the rounds on social media today. It's been shared by a lot of commentators and by some politicians as well, of Keir Starmer saying the 2019 manifesto has got to be the foundational document for the Labour Party. And then, cut to 5 years later, he's saying, "Oh, that manifesto, got a load of bunk. God, I can't believe some of you guys bought that."
It struck me how young Keir Starmer looked in that initial clip. There was quite a stark difference, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could say it was a long time ago. We've all had foolish ideas in our youth.
You see, but he was like 59 as opposed
Yeah,
to
maybe that's his
64.
defense.
I don't think they're like known as the most formative years of people's political opinions.
I
But
was
yeah,
only a young man of 59. I didn't really know what I was on about.
it's honestly, it's shocking going back. I was just looking at some interviews he'd done. There was one on the BBC that he'd done in 2019 when he was running for the Labour leadership. And when you read it kind of with these fresh eyes, you know where he's coming from now rather than who he was trying to appeal to back in 2019. And it's strikingly dishonest. You just realise that everything he's saying is calculated for a specific reason. There was I can't dig it up now, but I can paraphrase it, where the BBC asked him who he would most align himself with, Jeremy Corbyn or Tony Blair. And he said that he wanted to be his own politician. But as you said, foundational document in 2019, there's no question who he's aligning himself with, or ever Jeremy Corbyn and Tony Blair. Like, he was deceitfully hiding his political affiliations, as far as I'm concerned, his political opinion, in order to get elected to Labour leadership on the left-wing ticket, because he knew at that point there had been a massive surge in Labour membership so that people could vote for Jeremy Corbyn, because a lot of young people saw him as this beacon of change.
Yeah, and it raises a lot of, it does raise a lot of questions of what you could expect from Keir Starmer as Prime Minister, because Keir Starmer as the Labour leadership candidate in 2020 is a very different Keir Starmer from the leader of the Labour Party in 2024. Is the leader of the Labour Party in 2024 going to be a different person who's going to be the Labour Prime Minister on 5th of July? And Labour have come out with all of these things where they say, we're going to put up taxes, where there's but there will be no return to austerity as well. They've kind of taken a slightly mind-bending approach to the public finances as well. So what is a Keir Starmer premiership going to look like on 5th of July? There's a massive question hanging over that.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sure everybody will be tuning into his interview on Panorama on Friday immediately before the football anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just going to be really interested in that.
Yeah, it is remarkable timing. When we first saw the timing, because for people that don't know, I'll just catch you up. The BBC is running leaders interviews with each of the 6 or 7 lead parties. Basically, they did Rishi Sunak last night. They were meant to do Nigel Farage tonight, but he's pulled out. They're going to be doing Adrian Ramsey from the Greens, John Swinney from the SNP, Ruan ap Iorwerth, I probably slaughtered that, from Plaid Cymru. And they have today confirmed that Keir Starmer is going to be taking part in one of these BBC interviews, because originally he had not accepted the invitation. It's scheduled to take place at 7:30 p.m. this Friday night. So I can't imagine a huge number of people in Scotland are going to be wanting to tune in, considering the kickoff in the Euros is about, half an hour later. I mean, if you want to miss Flower of Scotland to hear Keir Starmer talk about what he may or may not do as Prime Minister, then
I actually think that there will be pubs across Scotland where people will be asking, can we get the Starmer interview on before the game? Do you mind?
You reckon?
Yeah, I reckon pubs across Scotland that will be the call at the bar. You showing the Starmer interview?
A convenient distraction from thinking about the horrors that might ensue over the next 90 minutes.
You can't be worse than the pre-match punditry, though.
I'm an optimist.
It might be less waffle than we do here from some of the pundits. It's the classic. Well, what Scotland really needs to do now is score a goal. That'll really see them good. Yeah, but we will leave it there rather than waffling on about the football, because, well, actually, Steph, who are you supporting? Are you supporting England or Scotland?
I am an England fan when it comes to football. So
Oh, okay, yeah.
Comes from my childhood, I'm afraid. So
Yeah.
I'll keep my mouth shut over the next few weeks.
Oh, I'm an England fan as well, but I know that you've got different affiliations for rugby, a bit of a die-hard Scotland fan of the rugby. So yeah, anyway, thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. Thanks, Hamish and Steph, for joining us from Holyrood and London. And yeah, all the latest updates on the general election, everything as we find it out, really, on the national.scot as always. So yeah, thanks very much, everybody, for tuning in, and we will see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
Thank you.